Good morning, welcome to today's practice. We're going to get straight into it, no messing, so come back to the back of your mat and we'll start in a child's pose. So bringing the big toes together, just taking the knees a little wider than hip width apart, creeping your hands out in front of you and bringing your forehead down onto your mat or into a block or a cushion if you prefer. So we're going to make this quite an active child's pose, so lengthen your tailbone out behind you. And if it felt okay, you could come up onto tented fingers. Bringing awareness to the breath. Breath moving gently in and out of the nose. Just letting the body almost just settle here for a couple of breaths, just while we take some time to start to draw our focus inside. So just a couple more rounds of breath. And then if you're on tented fingers, just taking the palms back down onto the mat. Use your next in-breath to come up onto all fours. Bring your knees underneath your hips and just take a few rounds of happy cat, angry cat here. So rounding the spine on the out breath and letting the belly drop down towards the earth on the in-breath. Just starting to feel into your body. Linking movement to breath. Let's take one more round of breath. And then come back through to a flat back and extend your right leg out behind you. So press out through the sole of the foot. Roll the shoulders away from the ears, just starting to engage through the core a little bit. And then bending your right knee. There is the option to take hold of the right foot with the left hand, but if you want to keep the left hand down on the mat, that's fine. Draw the heart space forwards. Just take one more breath here. And then bring your right knee and your left hand back down onto your mat, and we'll do the other side. So extend the left leg out behind you. Press out through the sole of the foot. So active through the core, through the shoulders. And then bending your left knee. And again, optional, you can take a hold of the left foot with the right hand. Taking one more breath. And then on your out breath, bringing your left knee back down onto your mat. And walking your hands out in front of you as you lower your heart down towards the earth. Anahatasana. So again, you could always take your forehead onto some support if you wanted. Otherwise, it might come to the floor. With your out breath, just letting the heart melt down towards the earth. Those with more flexibility and no neck issues, you might come onto the chin, always being mindful. And then tuck your toes underneath. Walk your hands back in towards you. Hands continue to walk back towards the knees, and we're just going to come up to a kneeling position with the toes tucked under. Take your hands onto your shoulders and then just starting to circle through the elbows. A couple of times in each direction. Back, opposite way. And then walk your hands back out in front of you, untuck the toes, pad the tops of your feet on your mat. And then just sit yourself back on your heels as long as you're comfortable to do so. Clasp the hands and just start to circle through your wrists. Take Take this both directions. And then shake out your wrists, walk your hands forwards again, and let's find our way into a downwards facing dog. So taking your feet hip width apart, finding some space between your fingers as you ground into the base of each finger and the base of your thumb. And you might choose to just pad out the feet here, bending one knee, straightening the other leg, and then swapping it over. You might find some movement through the head and the neck, perhaps giving the head a little bit of a shake. And then use your next in-breath, come forwards through to plank. Out-breath, hips up and back, down dog. Let's do that a couple more times. Inhale, round the spine forwards through to plank. Hips up and back, downwards facing. Inhale, come forwards. Stay strong through your core. Hips up and back, down dog. And then from your down dog, walking your hands in towards your feet to find your dangling forward bend. So if your hamstrings are tight, keep the knees bent. If it's first thing in the morning and you're feeling tight, just keep the knees bent. Maybe just a little sway backwards and forwards. Stay for one more round of breath. And then release your hands, walk it back forward through to your plank pose, and then bring the right foot to the outside of the right hand. So draw the hips forwards and down. You can always take the left knee down onto the mat if you wish. Take the right arm up towards the ceiling. Reach up through the right fingers as you reach back through your left heel. And then we're going to add in some movement. So on your out breath, you're going to pivot onto the sides of both feet. Let your left hip drop down towards the mat. Cactus your right arm. Inhale, bring the hips up. Straighten out that right arm if you've got room to. As you exhale, bring the left hip down. Cactus the arm. Couple more times. So you're getting into your left IT band, but you're also stretching out kind of right side ribs as you come up. One more round. Then bring it back through to face forward. You're going to step that right foot back through into plank pose. And then we'll do the other side. Left foot to the outside of the left hand. Take the left arm up towards the ceiling. Option to drop the right knee down if you wish. Couple of breaths there in your twist. And then on your out breath, again, pivoting onto the sides of the feet, drop the right hip, cactus the left arm. Inhale, lift the hips up, reach out through the left fingers. Exhale, right hip drops. Couple more. Take one more. Inhale, come up. Press the ground away. Exhale, cactus that left arm. And then come through to face forwards. Step back into plank. And then we'll lower all the way down to the mat. Untuck the toes. Find a little cobra here. So keep the shoulders nice and soft. Reach up through the crown of the head. Draw the heart forwards. And then on your out breath, come all the way back down. Tuck the toes. Press up to plank. Hips up and back. Downwards facing dog. Use your next in-breath. Float the right leg up behind you. Bend your right knee. Stack your right hip on top of your left. And I'm just going to square off the hips as you draw the right knee through to your chest. Draw the thigh right in towards your ribs. Press the ground away from you. Take one more round of breath. And then step your right foot through between your hands. Ground your left foot. Virabhadrasana 1 as you inhale. So there is always the option to come onto the ball of the back foot if grounding through the left foot doesn't suit you. Gently guide your left shoulder forwards. Take one more breath. And then release the hands, clasp them behind the back, walk your right foot out to the side an inch or so. Lift up through the heart on your in-breath, and as you exhale, fold forwards to the inside of that right leg. So a couple of breaths here, getting into your shoulders. Keeping the bend in the right knee. And then we're just going to release the arms down to the inside of the right foot as you pivot onto the ball of the left foot and come through into your lizard pose. So the hips draw down. You can always drop the left knee down onto the mat. You can come down onto your forearms if that feels okay. Keep your right knee drawing in towards your shoulder. Spine nice and long. One more round of breath. If you're on your forearms, come back up onto your hands. We're going to step it back, plank. So if you're used to vinyasas, you can take a vinyasa. If not, just go straight to down dog. Come back to your breath. Inhale, float the left leg up towards the ceiling. Bend your left knee, stack your left hip on top of your right. And then square off the hips. Draw your left thigh in towards your chest. So you come through into high plank. You're pressing the ground away from you. Keep sucking that left leg in. And then gently place the left foot between the hands. Ground your right foot. Virabhadrasana 1. So again, you've got the option to come onto the ball of the back foot. Guiding your right shoulder forwards. You can look up, you can look forwards, whatever suits you. And then release the hands, clasp them behind your back, awkward clasp, opposite thumb and finger on top, left foot out to the side a little, lift up through the heart on your in-breath, and on your out-breath, humble warrior. So keep the bend in the left knee. Try not to swing your hips out to the left, so that just right hip is just gently drawing forwards. Some awareness in your shoulders. And then we're just going to release the hands, bring them down to the inside of the left foot as you pivot onto the ball of the right foot. So the hips draw down. You can stay here, you can drop that right knee down onto the mat. You can come down onto your forearms. Finding your way into your lizard pose. Think about keeping the chest open. And then use your next in-breath. We'll come back up onto the hands if we're on our forearms. And then you're just going to walk yourself around to the right to face the long edge of your mat. And I'm just going to turn around to face you. You stay facing the way you are. So you come into your wide-legged forward bend. Lengthen the spine on your in-breath, and on your out-breath, fold forwards. Just getting into the hamstrings. Tip a little bit of weight into the front of the feet. Tailbone lengthens up as the crown and the head reaches down. And then use your next in-breath, look up, halfway lift, and then we're going to turn the toes out, heels in, and come over to Skandasana on your left. So you can take your left hand to the floor and reach the right arm up towards the ceiling. If you know this pose and you want to bind, you can wrap your left arm around the left leg and find a bind. So roll open through the right shoulder. You don't want to look up, you can always just look forwards or down. And then release the bind if you're binding. We're going to come back through centre and over to the right. So drop your hands down to the floor to help you get there if you need to. So either right hand to the floor, left arm reaches up, or you wrap the arms around and find a bind. Staying connected to your breath. Release the hands down if you're binding. You're going to take it back over to your left. And I'm going to sit ourselves down on our mat. So left leg is bent. Right leg is out straight. You can always bend the knee if it feels tight. Lengthen on your in-breath. And on your out-breath, you're folding forwards down the midline. Full awareness on your breath, the sensations of your body. Take one more breath. As you inhale, walk the hands back in towards you. You're going to take the left hand just down behind the left hip, sweep the right arm up, find a little bit of a back bend, kind of side bend here. And then bring your hips back down onto the mat. Now you can just swap this over, or you can come back through Skandasana, over to the other side and sit yourself down. So this time right leg is bent, left leg is straight. Lengthen on your in-breath, and on your out-breath you're folding forwards down the midline. Keep the shoulders and the face relaxed. Use your next in-breath, walk the hands back in towards you. Right hand comes down alongside the right hip. You could just keep the hips on the ground and lift up through the left arm, or you can lift up through the hips. I don't have the room here. On your out-breath, bring the hips back down onto your mat, and then extend out the right leg. So legs nice and wide, lengthen on the in-breath, and on your out-breath, folding forwards. And press out through the soles of the feet, bend the knees if you need to. You can sit on a cushion or a block if the hamstrings are tight. Two more rounds of breath. And then use your next in-breath, walk the hands back in towards you. So we're just going to bend the knees and then just pivot round to face the the front edge of your mat, and find your way back into your downwards facing dog. From your down dog, you can take a vinyasa, or you can just choose to pad out the feet in down dog. So we're going to end this very short practice by coming through into Malasana. So just take the feet a little wider than hip width, toes turn out, heels in, walk your hands back in towards your feet and come through into your squat. Couple of breaths, reach up through the crown of the head, staying open through the heart. And we're going to take this into a twist, so just like in Skandasana, left hand to the floor, right arm up, or you can choose to find a bind. Bring it back through centre on your in-breath, keeping the spine nice and long. Other side. You're keeping the spine long by reaching up through the crown of the head. Come back through centre. Take your hands back down to the mat. Walk it back through into your plank pose. And then lower yourself down to the floor or to chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog. And then spend a couple of breaths here in your back bend. So reach up through the crown of the head, heart draws forwards. And then when you're ready, downwards facing dog. From your down dog, draw your knees back down onto your mat. Find your way back into your child's pose. Take one more breath. And then use your next in-breath. Walk your hands back in towards you. Bring yourself back through to upright. And then we're going to lie ourselves back down on the mat. So short and sweet. Getting into the hips. Nice little stretch out. But always making time for your relaxation. It's a shorter practice. You can take a shorter relaxation, but making sure that you stay as long as you need to. So closing your eyes, softening the muscles, letting your body rest heavily on the earth. And staying as long as you need to. And I'll see you next time. Namaste.